This is just a non-racial advisory committee. That's all it is. This will be my final commentary on the upcoming Indigenous Voice Referendum before the vote this Saturday, but I will certainly have something to say about it after the results are known. I'd just like to point out that I'm not here to sway anybody's vote. I assume that all of you have already made up your minds. I'm not stupid enough to think that I can convince you to vote one way or the other. Guess how this guy voted? I'll give you a clue. It rhymes with mess. As in, this entire f***ing referendum has been a complete and utter mess. When we see all these polls showing that some people are still undecided, I think they're lying. Not in a bad way. I think they just want to keep their vote secret. Fair enough. That's their right. The latest polls show that only Tasmania is swinging towards yes. The entire mainland is polling no. Anyway, the first thing I'd like to talk about in this video is that the Voice is often touted as simply an advisory committee. If you look at the Uluru Statement website, it states, "You're the voice." Well, you're the voice as long as you're one of the 3.8% of Australians who identify as Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander. The other 96% of you or so are not the voice and never can be. Further down, they state, "The Voice will be an advisory body that gives First Nations Australians a say on matters that directly affect them." An advisory body, that's all it is. The government's Voice website also reinforces this idea. The Voice will give independent advice to the Parliament and government. Advice, nothing else. Even the Prime Minister keeps saying this.
A non-binding advisory committee to give advice, to make representations to the government and to the Parliament. That is a very modest request. A non-binding advisory committee to give advice, make representations to government, and then it's up to Parliament and government to decide whether it accepts that advice or not.
My only question, we'll be voting on a constitutional amendment. Where in this amendment does it say anything about advice? This is the official amendment according to the government. In recognition of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the first people of Australia, there shall be a body to be called the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Voice. The Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Voice may make representations to the Parliament and the executive government on matters relating to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. The Prime Minister used that word representations a couple of times in the interview we just watched in conjunction with the word advice. According to the Oxford Dictionary, representation, noun, formal statements made to an authority, especially so as to communicate an opinion or register a protest. The Law Society will make representations to the Lord Chancellor. A statement or allegation. There's no mention of advice. Even in the list of similar words, there's nothing that indicates advice to me. Just so that we're clear, advice, guidance or recommendations. I'm sorry, that's not the same word as representations. You might be asking, why am I looking up dictionary definitions? What am I trying to do? Well, what I'm doing is exactly what constitutional lawyers will be doing in the High Court. This is the Constitution. This is not our opinion on the latest sporting event. If I can see ambiguity in this constitutional amendment, so will they. This will be debated in court, exactly what I'm doing now. And decisions of the High Court are final. There are no further appeals once a matter has been decided by the High Court, and the decision is binding on all other courts throughout Australia. Continuing. The Parliament shall, subject to this Constitution, have power to make laws with respect to matters relating to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice, including its composition, functions, powers and procedures. Okay, so as far as I can tell, there is nothing in here stating that this is only an advisory body, like the PM has been going on about in all of his interviews. Next, is the voice actually non-racial? According to the PM...
And what this is about is Indigenous issues, not a race. So that is what this is about.
He's not the only one to claim that this is not about race. On the ABC's Q&A program, one of their panellists, Director for Centre for Indigenous Training Wesley Aird, mentioned race in connection to the voice, and the panel didn't know quite what to say.
Personally, I think it would make more sense to fund need over race, and we could find other ways to value.
Indigeneity isn't race.
How is it not?
It's peoples who pre-existed colonisation.
You're going to have to explain. Sorry, I don't.
They are blonde and blue-eyed Indigenous people in the Arctic Circle.
We're not in the Arctic Circle.
It doesn't matter.
This is a constitutional alteration for Aboriginal people.
Whether there were peoples who pre-existed colonisation by the British, they were Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples.
Yeah.
And it's a recognition of that historical truth.
Okay. So the races we're talking about are Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander.
The recognition is not just about disadvantage, it's about our languages, our culture, our history.
Anyway, you get the idea. The Yes campaign seem to be stating that this referendum is not about race, and therefore it's wrong of the No campaign to accuse it of being racially divisive. But then a quick question comes to mind. Can Indigenous people in Australia experience racism? Of course, they will answer. Then doesn't it follow that this is about race? Some will argue that there's no such thing as race. Race does not have any inherent physical or biological meaning. Okay, I'll agree with that. So it doesn't exist physiologically and scientifically, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist at all, does it? I mean, the fact that people always talk about it, the fact that people can experience racism, doesn't that mean it's a very real concept, even if it's just a social concept? It's like time. Some physicists state that time doesn't exist, but yet our whole world is defined around this notion of time. Race, they say, is more akin to one's eye colour or hair colour, but we would never say redheads don't exist, would we? Anyway, I think this has become a game in semantics. They say the voice is not about race, it's about one's cultural identity, it's about one's ancestry, one's indigeneity, one's ethnicity. Are these not all one and the same? Okay, let's not use the word race, but then we could still say, only people of a certain ancestry can become members of the Indigenous voice. Is this not a racial notion? If I said, only people of Scandinavian origin may join my club, what do you think the activists would say? Racists! Of course they would. Mr. Albanese has said that he will walk away from the voice if the referendum flops, which in all likelihood it probably will. If Australians vote no, I don't believe it would be appropriate to then go and legislate anyway. Don't worry, this is just a non-racial advisory committee. That's all it is. Do you buy their BS anymore?